what Jeff says, can you go to another level? Can you take it to the next level maybe and get you even more success as well?
What happened?
I think we lost Glenn.
We did lose Glenn.
And,
What happened to Glenn?
and we're streaming live
Austin,
without
can
Glenn.
you let him back in when he calls?
Yeah. I'm waiting for him to pop up.
Okay, John, if you're talking, you're muted.
No, I said he might have had an automatic disconnect when the recording started.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to pop back up. Yeah, I just went live on YouTube, and I don't know if that's what knocked him off, but I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, you activate YouTube and poof, Glenn goes away. I
haven't seen that before.
Well, he's a shy guy.
Said goodbye, have a good afternoon.
Well, the funny thing is, we're all preaching to the choir here. We're probably, out of the 38 people who registered, the ones who don't even need this meeting.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay, there we go. That happens on my webinars too. When I give webinars, it's always like that. You have like
Glenn. So here's Glenn coming back in.
Yeah, he's coming back in now.
Well, honestly, when I've had events, I realize that, if you use the word free, you're going to get 25% of the people that sign up to show up, right? But if you charge them $3, they have some sort of investment. They're much more likely to follow up.
Okay, I'm back. Did I get lost there for a minute?
Yeah, you did.
I got kicked out. Something popped on my screen that says you're now leaving the meeting. I didn't touch anything. But yeah, good point, John. I was going to say that too. If it's free, everybody in the world signs up. But then if it's not free, they're saying, why isn't it free? All right, so hold on. Anyway, you must have carried on a little bit. Sorry that happened. I was just sitting there and it says, now you have now left the meeting. I didn't touch anything. Anyway, here's what we'll do. Yeah, no, Lindy. Okay, here's these are the three people that are speakers today are business owners. So we know kind of what's going on. I hope that we do, and hopefully we can share some good information for everybody concerned. Lindy, I've known her for at least 10 or 12 years. As I said, she's an MBA. She owns her own company called Earl Marketing. She's a certified counselor, an HR executive, a business coach, specializing in organizational development, employee motivation and training. Employee motivational and training. To me, that means, do you know what you're doing and believe in what you're doing there? So she's been director of marketing, operations, HR management and training for several firms in the area. She has an MBA. As I said, I want to introduce Lindy Earl about 10 minutes. Lindy Earl, welcome.
Hi, thanks guys. Nice to be here. As I said, y'all are already experts at this. What Glenn and I discussed briefly, and it didn't make its way onto my bio, is that I am currently working full-time as a marketing content writer. So I get to do anything that is, if it's a website, it doesn't matter. It can be an email. But the point of this is, my topic is believe in yourself and your mission. And that's hugely important because yourself and your mission are not always the same thing. With CEOs, especially with small business CEOs, they are, okay? But how do you believe in yourself? One is an amazing amount of confidence. And how do you gain that confidence? By being the expert. And as a writer, when they say, hey, you are going to write on this topic, I have to become the expert in that topic. And every time y'all get a new client, it is your responsibility, not just a task or a job. You need to be an expert on your client because you can't serve them unless you truly understand them. And a lot of people just totally don't understand business. If I were to say, what does Nike sell? What are y'all going to answer? You have to unmute yourself, some of you.
Yeah.
What?
The swoosh.
They sell the swoosh. They don't sell hats. They don't sell shorts. They don't sell t-shirts. They don't sell shoes. They sell the swoosh, they sell the quality, they sell name recognition. They sell the image of, I am important enough that I will spend $45 on a $7 t-shirt so that I can have a swoosh. Okay.
Oh, the sizzle, the sizzle.
This is not the steak, right?
There you go.
Yeah, so we need to understand, you know, if your client is, so, you know, we have an accountant here. Well, we don't want to meet other accountants. Sure we do, because they might be selling price. Hey, I will do your taxes for less than anybody else. Not me. I don't want the cheapest accountant. If they're telling me, I love that when you meet a real estate agent and I say, oh, where do you work? Anywhere, any size company, any size house, any size customer. I'm like, and I'm done. I don't want a jack of all trades. I want a master.
That's cool.
So you need to be the master. And we all know that line, jack of all trades, master of none. I changed it. It's the master of, in my case, a few. Okay. Marketing expert. What does it take to be an expert? Nobody's ever defined it. But as Glenn said, college professor, educated, experienced, I have some credibility to support it. And that's what you need, because you know you're the expert, but you need to let other people, and you need to do it in a way. Now, there's two different ways to have a company. One is to be able to sell a makeable product. I know how to make shelves. And on Saturday afternoon, I go into my house and I make shelves. And then I go to craft fairs all over Georgia and I say, will you please buy them? Is this a good plan? No, you're begging people to buy your product. How about we do it this way? Find a sellable product and then make it. There are a lot of people, and I think it was mentioned, I think it was John mentioned it, said there are so many people on the internet, to Glenn's question about how do you make yourself? Well, I said, you know, I use videos. I post them on multiple social media, but I thought, well, the video is going to make me stand out in a way that it's not just another. And I do post writing, I'm a writer. But what you do is say, what makes me unique? And that's your confidence. And that's where you start believing in yourself, because nobody's going to do what you do the way you do. There might be a lot of engineers out there, but you're the only engineer who has what niche. Okay. Another point is you have to know yourself. You need to be the best you in the situation. So picking on myself, I'm a morning girl. The Lord wakes me up about 5 o'clock every morning. We have some time together. It's wonderful. I love that time of my day. That is a great time for me to focus on one thing. If a client wanted to meet at 5 in the morning, I'd say, sure, no worries. If a client says, hey, can you meet after supper? Yeah, I can, but it's not my best time of day. And I need to know. So I had a client years ago, he was a sales rep. And you have a lot of flexibility as such an agent. And he was having a hard time because it's very typical of sales reps. He hated the paperwork, didn't want to write the reports, didn't want to do the sales expense report, he just hated them. So we started talking about it. And I was like, okay, what's your best time of day? And he said 11 p.m. I said, okay, we can work that. He was like, no, you can't work with 11 p.m. I said, what time does your wife and kids go to bed? And he said 10 o'clock. I said, okay, so what do you do at 11 o'clock at night? He says, my hobbies are, and he was a guitar player and I can't remember all his hobbies. And he said, I go and I do that. I said, okay, do that at 2 in the afternoon, which is your worst time of day. And he says, really? I get permission to I was like, yeah, you're not getting anything done at work at 2 in the afternoon. That's not a good time of day for you. So we're going to take your worst, most useless time of day and let you have fun, because we don't care if you're good at that. But at 11 o'clock, you kiss your wife goodnight, you put your kids in bed, and you sit down and you do your reports. He is just coming awake when those street lights come on. So he was finding it very easy. He was energized. He was focused. There were no interruptions. And he was pounding through his reports, all because he knew himself. And now where he was feeling kind of insecure at work, not because he wasn't great at what he did, but because he hated doing the paperwork, it was hurting his confidence. And so he said, okay, fine. Another client, hey, you know, you need to do, this is part of owning your own business. You have to do the accounting, right? I can't stand doing the accounting. It's not what I do well. I hire it out. Okay. If you don't want to do payroll, hire it done. Honestly, HR, nobody should be doing their own HR if you have more than, you know, half a dozen employees, because the rules change so much. You could be in trouble, and it could cost you time, employees, money, and you didn't even know. You didn't even know that you were, okay, there's a difference between salary does not mean exempt people, and you might be owing somebody thousands of dollars in back wages. So you hire out what you don't do well, because not only do you have the time to do what you do well, you will love your work. So you have to know yourself. You have to know your mission. You have to know what you do well and what you don't do well. What do you bring to the table that nobody else can? You know, people are like, oh, I can write. Saying that you know how to write because, you know, you went to school and you've been a writer, you know, you've done it before, you had to write in school. That's like saying, I've been a patient, so I'm prepared to be a physician. No, you're not. You might be able to diagnose your 5-year-old who has a fever, but you are not prepared. And the way you know, it's the proof is in the pudding. So as you're successful at accounting, engineering, architecture, sales, marketing, writing, whatever, your confidence grows, you get better at what you're doing, and you don't have to sell yourself per the conversation about LinkedIn. I'm with y'all. Somebody, hey, can I link with you? Yes, immediately sold me, immediately blocked. No, I don't go out and sell. I wait for somebody to call me and say, hey, and that's how I got my current job as a full-time writer. Hey, Lindy, it says on LinkedIn. I mean, I knew this guy, like, I met him 5 or 6 years ago. He's like, they asked me in work, does anybody know a writer? And I said, I do. I had an interview that afternoon, and 11 days later, I was at a new job.
Awesome.
Yeah, but it's not because I went out selling myself. It's because I did what I do well, and they came looking for me. And it can happen too if you believe in yourself and your mission.
Great.
And I'm done.
That's a great topic. Awesome. See, that's just a reminder, and it's just a high level thing because we all do this all the time. But as I said, the 3 microcosm topics today are just kind of a good refresher for us. But please, here's the thing too. Everybody, let's please invite more people or our closest contacts, because I think there's major value here. And I think we've got 4 speakers that deliver value. So I hope that's a good reminder to everybody. Let me introduce Austin. I've known him for several years now, and he's his own business owner too, Thompson Management Consulting. He has an MBA. He's a teacher at Southern Poly. Shorter.
Yeah.
He's got several things. Keller Graduate School, DeVry School of Tech, Southern Poly, professor at Shorter College. He really does a great job on business planning, writing a business plan, feasibility studies. So I asked him to give us about 10 minutes on sort of a high performance plan. So now we believe in ourselves. We know what we're doing. Let's take something here and challenge ourselves, have a plan developed. Give us about 10 minutes on how to sort of develop a high performance plan. Austin Thompson.
Hey, you put me to follow Lindy, huh?
Still listening.
Oh, okay. We got the blue screen.
She slid her thing over.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead.
No.
All right, good afternoon.
I'm still here. I'm just not talking. I have to have other things to do, but I'm listening.
Okay. No problem. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, high performance planning. Thank you to Glenn for having me on again to speak. And Lindy said about being a specialist and staying in your lane and not being a jack of all trades. And I consider myself a business planner, and that's basically where I began. Although I do strategy planning, I also do training of employees, I work with smaller businesses like the micro models. They'll bring me in to discuss strategy planning with their employees based on the goals that they've set. But business planning and planning is basically what I like to focus on, because I always believe that with any business, regardless of the size, regardless of what you're doing, planning is the preparation that you put into determining the route you're taking from beginning to end and what happens in between. So looking at strategy planning for 2022, you know, considering that we're still in a pandemic, so there's a lot of uncertainty still out there. You know, in very early 2020, it was like we got caught with like a deer in the headlights, right? So basically we're there and we're like, oh my God, what's going on? We didn't know what this pandemic was. We didn't know how much of an impact it would have on our businesses. We didn't know how much of an impact it would have on our lives, right? And we went into 2020, we lost businesses had to shut down and open back up. And you know, we were looking at, okay, will this virus be over by the end of the year? Will it still persist after the end of the year? So there was a lot of uncertainty, right? So here we are, like 18 months later, and it's like we're still dealing with the same thing, right? Although now we have vaccines and we sort of, we have a handle on the virus somewhat, and now here comes these variants, right? So now after getting vaccines, now we're looking at boosters and so on and so forth. You know, this impacts our businesses. It really impacts the way in which we do business, how we do business, with whom we do business. We see the market shrinking because the clients we once had, some are out of business, some had to close and will hope to reopen, like many of the restaurants and bars and cafes that you know, that struggled through 2020 and into 2021. You know, so doing business in an ongoing pandemic, you know, some of the things that we still have to look to when going into 2022, continuing with virtual engagement like we're doing now. There are a lot of events. We've returned to in-person engagement, but yet still we're relying on Microsoft Teams, we're relying on Zoom, we're relying on, you know, any type of virtual platform to help facilitate our engagement with one another. So those are some of the things that we're still looking to in 2022 to continuing, especially now with these new variants coming up, like the Delta variant and the Lambda. We're still, you know, continuing with virtual engagement. Undergoing the global impact, or understanding the global impact of COVID. We're looking at trying to understand how does the impact of COVID, you know, on not just on our businesses, but on the people with whom we do business, right? So we're looking at, and I was doing a little analysis, right, to determine how does the impact on the COVID virus, the impact on Americans and people with whom we do business, how is it impacting us as consultants, as business operators, right? So over 228 million cases and over 4.6 million deaths globally, right? Because many of us are not just doing business, you know, in our local municipalities, in our state, even in the country. We're doing business across global lines, right? Like me, I have contacts, you know, in Africa, in the Caribbean, in Northern Africa, so on and so forth. And I'm looking to, you know, reach out and build collaborations in England. So understanding the global impact of COVID and how it impacts our business is the one thing that will contribute to our planning in 2022, right? The US leads with 43.6 million cases, and that's just about 13% of the US population. However, it's still significant, right? Because it still affects businesses, it affects business owners, it affects our ability to hire and employ and keep employees, right? US vaccinations are anywhere from 743,000 doses per day to 3.4 million. So we see a variance in the vaccinations getting out to or being distributed to Americans. And as long as people stay vaccinated or get vaccinated, we can start to build that confidence in getting back out. This helps us as consultants, because as businesses feel more confident in staying open, as customers have more confidence in visiting businesses and doing business, this helps us, right? So, definitely understanding the impact that COVID is making on our businesses and on the market, people with whom we do business. That's important, because that helps us in our planning for 2022, how we're going to adjust our business activity, how we're going to adjust our marketing, right? So I came up with a list of 10 key recommendations that I would definitely recommend to any small business out there. Set strong goals for 2022 based on the economic climate, right? Looking at the economic climate, looking at the market that you're targeting for businesses, and understanding, what activity is being conducted in that market that will contribute to you having a healthy business relationship or having any healthy business activity in that particular market, right? You look at restaurants, we look at those who are servicing other service-based businesses, especially in the tourism industry. If you're active in the tourism industry, that's pretty much in trouble right now. So if you're a business owner and you're targeting business owners in the tourism industry, it's going to be something of a challenge going into 2022 if that's the market that you're servicing, right? There was a young lady who was on one of my panels last year at a bed and breakfast in Atlanta, and they're still suffering. Several of the bed and breakfasts I've contacted, they're still being impacted by COVID. They're still being impacted by travelers and a reduction in tourism and visitors, and a demand for the rooms at the bed and breakfast. So they're sort of slithering along, but still holding up and staying in business. But nothing nowhere close to where they were prior to COVID, right?
About 3 minutes, Austin. About 3 more minutes.
3 minutes.
Just highlight.
Yeah, I talk a lot. Let me move on.
No problem. About 3 minutes.
Rebrand for stronger presence. All right. Look at your brand and how it's making an impact in the marketplace, and look at the way that you're reaching your clients on social media, and the brand and the image that you have for your business, and look to rebrand that. Focus on delivering on your top services and product lines. Those services and the product lines that are actually have more brand strength or more demand in the marketplace. Focus on investing in that and growing that more. Study the supply chain. Supply chain routes right now have been ruptured. So deliveries and the movement of materials and supplies right now are restricted. So create a supply chain plan. Right, continue virtual engagement, share lessons learned, shared experiences, strategic thinking, and best practices with other consultants, right? Like I do, I speak to other consultants. Understand what new opportunities exist in the marketplace. Focus on people and your client, what problems you can solve, right? Like Lindy mentioned previously. Revisit your market plan, right? Your marketing is going to be different in 2022. So revisit your marketing plan. And last, revisit your P&L. Right? You're going to be making adjustments for revenues. You're going to be making adjustments for expenses. So make sure that you're revisiting that you have, and that will help. All right.
Your picture went away. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. You can hear me?
Hey, cool. Yeah, great information. We all can talk about these things all day long. I just want to try to narrow down about 10 minutes or so. So let me introduce Jeff real quick. Jeff is a member of MABA, and I appreciate that. Another member, a founding member. Let that sink in for a minute. A founding member for 4 years ago, at least. He's an MBA as well. He owns his own company called Success Facets. Helps you go to the next level. 30 years business experience. A board-certified business and executive coach. He's owned 5 previous businesses with a lot of experience. He works on mergers and acquisitions, M&A, over 100 mergers and acquisitions. He's worked in 100 different international companies. So he's a great international consultant as well. Business management, leadership, behavioral skills. How do you behave in the business market? How to make more money? His basic saying is your business, your life, your success at the next level. Welcome, Jeff. Tell us how to go to the next level.
Thank you, Glenn. Great to be here today. Let me share my screen and hopefully you'll all be able to see this.
Yeah, send us a couple slides. There you go.
Have you got the screen?
And yes, professional consultant as well. Business management, leadership, behavioral skills. How do you behave in the business market? How to make more money? His basic saying is your business, your life, your success at the next level. Welcome, Jeff. Tell us how to go to the next level.
Thank you, Glenn. Great to be here today. Let me share my screen.
I don't know.
And hopefully you'll all be able to see this. Something's not working here.
There you go.
Have you got the screen?
And yes, yeah, I got it. Consultant as well. Business management, leadership, behavioral skills. How do you know the audio's overdoing it. How to make more money is basic. Can you mute me? Austin, can you mute me? At the next level. Welcome, Jeff. Tell us how to go to the next level.
Somehow it's on a replay. Be here today. Let me share my screen.
I don't know.
And hopefully you'll all be able to see this. Something's not working here. Have you got the screen?
And yes, yeah, I got it. Consultant as well.
Somehow it's just replaying. Take it off the live stream. It's just replaying.
I don't know. The audio's overdoing it. How to make more money is basic. Can you mute me?
Can
you mute me?
Yeah, I've got you muted.
The next level. Welcome, Jeff.
It's still just replaying in the background. Somehow it's on a replay. Be here today. Let me share my screen.
I don't know.
Hopefully you'll all be able to see this. Just stop the live stream.
The screen.